If you've ever wondered what happens when an all-American boy transforms into an outlaw legend, so terrifying that prison authorities allegedly welded his cell shut, this is your ride. They called him Doug the Thug for reasons that would make even hardened criminals step aside when he walked through San Quentin's yard. From breaking handcuffs with his bare hands to surviving attacks that would have killed ordinary men, Doug's reputation reached mythic proportions.
He was in for everything. He was an assassin for the Hells Angels. And he was also a straight-up berserker. He, in a fit of strength, he broke a pair of handcuffs like this.
The strangest part? Before becoming Sonny Barger's enforcer, he was a high school swimming champion who gave graduation speeches about the importance of reading.
Well, Sonny Barger was the president of the Hells Angels when it first started.
Yeah.
Oakland chapter.
Yeah.
And he writes about a whole page about Doug Orr.
Was he?
He calls him the most violent motherfucker he ever knew.
Follow his journey from golden boy to nightmare incarnate. A journey so extreme that when he died, some refused to believe it.
So Doug was a dream to many, and I'm also sure he was a nightmare to a lot of other people.
Buckle up, folks, because this story doesn't come with safety features. Before becoming Doug the Thug, Douglas Flynn Orr Jr. was just another kid in tiny Selma, California. Born April 1946 to working-class parents, young Douglas seemed destined for suburban normalcy.
Douglas Flynn Orr Jr. was the couple's firstborn. He came into this world on April the 22nd, 1946, in Fresno, California. However, shortly thereafter, the family moved to Selma, California. He grew up in a traditional family setting, straight out of Leave It to Beaver in a small California town.
The local newspaper tracked his wholesome childhood like a sitcom highlight reel. Birthday parties with grandparents made front-page news.
Douglas grew up as a typical all-American boy. His activities were documented in the local newspaper, beginning with a party his maternal grandparents held in the honor of his first birthday.
School swimming competitions earned him modest fame. Moreover, his 8th grade graduation speech about education through reading revealed his articulate side. Yet this bookish boy would later make hardened criminals tremble in prison yards. And that happened in November 1959, when disaster struck. 12-year-old Orr crashed his homemade four-wheeler at an intersection.
On November the 11th, 1959, 12-year-old Orr fractured both his legs when the small homemade four-wheeler he was driving was involved in a collision with a car. This took place when Orr was unable to stop at the intersection of the Wolf and Conejo Avenues, which resulted in him running into the right front fender of the vehicle. The right front wheel of the car ran over Orr's legs, breaking them both.
While doctors saved his limbs, something inside him perhaps changed forever. The months in hospital beds might have twisted something fundamental. Another warning sign flashed when he vanished at 15 without explanation. He ran away at midnight, staying gone for days. Though he returned, questions linger about this unexplained absence. By 1962, he appeared rehabilitated and focused on athletic achievement. Swimming trophies lined his shelves. Teachers praised his discipline. Classmates admired his comeback story. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, something unidentifiable was brewing.
In 1962, 16-year-old Orr was honored at the school's spring awards banquet, receiving his athletic letter for swimming. This picture captured a young 18-year-old Orr. However, there were signs of what was to come.
The transformation between graduation and 1967 defies simple explanation.
In 1960, he graduated from the 8th grade as part of a very small graduating class that only contained 20 students. Orr spoke at the graduation, expounding on the importance of education through reading.
He emerged in Irving Penn's photographs, wearing Hells Angels patches with cold eyes. The honor student had completely vanished. In his place stood a man others described as a straight-up berserker.
Sometime between 1964 and 1967, Orr went through a transformation from a square all-American boy to an outlaw biker and a member of the Daly City chapter of the Hells Angels. This picture was part of a series of photographs taken by Irving Penn in 1967, introducing the Hells Angels and Doug the Thug to the rest of the country.
Former inmates later spoke of his reputation with fearful reverence. He wasn't just an angel, he was what other angels feared. The small-town boy who once cherished books now preferred reading terror in men's eyes instead. Hey brothers, tired of YouTube's BS and censorship? It's time to break free. That's why I've shifted gears to Patreon, where I can bring you the raw, uncensored content you crave. Join my Patreon crew and get an insane package deal. Exclusive early access to all videos, days before YouTube, 100% ad-free viewing experience. Uncensored, no-holds-barred community discussions, double the content. 2 killer videos every single week. VIP access, direct interaction with yours truly, inside scoop, exclusive biker world updates you won't find anywhere else. Ready to join the elite? Hit that Patreon link now. Your support doesn't just keep us rolling, it fuels a revolution of uncensored, unrestricted content. Join now and unlock a world of exclusive benefits. Doug's descent into infamy accelerated with the precision of a well-tuned Harley. By July 1967, his first major arrest came during a routine traffic stop. The officer checked his muffler and mirror. Then he discovered marijuana in Doug's pockets.
On July the 27th, 1967, Orr was pulled over by Los Altos police in a routine traffic stop to check the muffler and rearview mirror on his motorcycle. When the officer ran his name, an outstanding warrant was discovered for Orr's arrest on a vehicle code violation. When Orr was searched by officers, they found 2 plastic bags in one of his pockets containing marijuana.
Nevertheless, this minor offense barely hinted at what would follow. The fall months brought escalating troubles and mounting criminal charges. During a weekend in San Mateo County Jail, guards found stimulants during his strip search. They also noted his fresh Hells Angels tattoo across his chest. Ironically, this walking advertisement for terror was still just warming up. December 1967 marked his first violent offense on public record. He attacked anti-war protesters at San Jose State with a baseball bat. His companion wielded a metal pipe alongside him. Given many Angels' military connections, they viewed protesters as unpatriotic enemies. Still, beating civilians hardly qualified as patriotic service. The following year, Doug decided jail wasn't exciting enough without adding dog bites. At Redwood City's only topless pool hall, an establishment whose very existence raised questions, chaos erupted in the parking lot. Doug struck a deputy from behind during the melee. The officer responded by introducing Doug to his furry partner. As it happens, police dogs don't appreciate surprise attacks on their handlers. Between nightstick blows and canine dental work, Doug suffered a broken hand. Despite this painful education, he remained a slow learner regarding law enforcement encounters. January 1969 brought his most chilling violence yet. After a trivial traffic dispute, Doug and fellow Angels followed 21-year-old Earl Hudson home.
On January the 29th, 1969, 21-year-old Earl Hudson met a car of Angels at an intersection. The Angels flipped Hudson off, and Hudson responded in kind. He then drove to his home, forgetting about the incident until a few minutes later. The Angels followed him to his home and began beating on the front door, demanding entry.
Hudson's wife hid trembling in a closet. Meanwhile, the Angels broke down their door with terrifying efficiency. As Hudson tried escaping over a backyard fence, someone, allegedly Doug, shot him point blank with a shotgun.
Hudson ran out of the back door when the Angels finally broke down the door, but they caught Hudson trying to jump a fence. The Angels started walking him back inside the house when he was shot at close range in the back with a shotgun.
Surgeons later removed 47 pellets from Hudson's body. They also extracted his gallbladder and portions of several organs. Surprisingly, Hudson survived to identify his attacker.
Hudson was taken to Alexian Brothers Hospital in critical condition. Surgeons had to remove Hudson's gallbladder, and portions of his large intestine, liver, and stomach. They also removed 47 pellets from his body.
In the twisted economy of outlaw violence, this qualified as a botched job. Doug had failed to silence his victim permanently. Law enforcement quickly raided 4 Angel hangouts, searching for Doug the Thug. They found him in Menlo Park, seemingly unconcerned about attempted murder charges. Perhaps he believed his growing reputation provided immunity from consequences. Alternatively, he simply lacked the imagination to consider his freedom might end. Facing attempted murder charges, Doug pivoted to an unexpected strategy. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity.
On February the 14th, 1969, Orr and Santos pled not guilty to the charges, and a trial date was set for April the 21st. Orr also entered an additional plea of not guilty by reason of insanity.
Smart move for someone whose day job involved terrifying rational people. Despite this, the courts took his claim seriously. The judicial system, in its infinite wisdom, ordered psychiatric evaluations. 3 different doctors examined Doug and, surprisingly, couldn't reach consensus. The first doctor insisted he was genuinely insane. According to his notes, Doug kept babbling about a ghost that follows me. Furthermore, he claimed this ghost was his father giving him instructions.
On April the 14th, 1969, the judge ordered Dr. Fred Bradshaw, a San Jose psychiatrist, to examine Orr to determine if he was sane. This was done because 3 previous doctors that examined him could not agree. Dr. John Peshaw of Agnew State Hospital said he believed Orr was insane. He reported that Orr kept talking about a ghost that keeps talking to him. He quoted Orr as saying, "It follows me about all the time. It's my father. It tells me everything I do. It told me to cut myself."
The second psychiatrist found 0 evidence of mental illness.
On the other hand, Dr. Mervyn Shore, a San Jose psychiatrist, said he could not find any evidence of mental illness.
Meanwhile, the third doctor suspected Doug was faking everything. Under such conflicting opinions, the court decided to bet on insanity. Thus began Doug's brief psychiatric career at Agnew State Hospital. Prison walls couldn't hold Doug, so psychiatric ward barriers stood even less chance. Within a month of commitment, he orchestrated a daring escape. Along with 7 fellow patients, he sawed through window bars. They slid down a drain pipe like deranged firefighters. Though 5 escapees quickly surrendered, Doug vanished completely. Hells Angels folklore adds dramatic flair to this escape. According to Sonny Barger himself, a rescue team from the club broke Doug out.
The rumor is, this is what Sonny Barger told me personally, the crew of guys went there from the club to whatever hospital he was in or what facility it was. They broke him out, and that's kind of how his legend began.
Their motivation? The hospital had scheduled electroshock treatments for him. Some whispered about potential lobotomy plans.
He was in a psychiatric ward, and he was getting court order shock treatments, and on the horizon they were talking about a possible lobotomy.
Whether truth or embellishment, the story enhanced Doug's larger-than-life reputation. During his 3 months on the run, Doug apparently missed his dog. Police suspected he broke into the Humane Society to retrieve his white German Shepherd. Only Doug would risk recapture for canine companionship. His priorities, much like his mental state, remained uniquely his own. Freedom ended on October 10th, 1969, when police caught him returning a borrowed car. In his possession, a .38 caliber handgun and a one-way ticket to Vancouver.
He got arrested for felon in possession of a firearm. He went back into the federal system, and that night was the last time I saw Doug alive.
The international escape plan revealed Doug understood the seriousness of his situation. Unfortunately for him, understanding came 3 months too late. The court, now thoroughly tired of Doug's antics, conducted a second sanity hearing. This time, judges determined he had been perfectly sane while shooting Hudson. His fate was sealed. After conviction, he received consecutive sentences totaling potentially 19 years. Just before his 24th birthday, Doug entered San Quentin's imposing gates. Behind them waited a new chapter where his particular talents would find their truest expression. San Quentin greeted Doug like an old friend expecting his arrival. Within its concrete maze, he quickly established his fearsome reputation.
Ultimately, he wound up in prison, and in prison, along with other Hells Angels, Doug made a fierce reputation for the club.
Unlike street gangs, prison hierarchies required bloody proof of toughness. Doug delivered this evidence repeatedly. A 1977 San Quentin News photo captured Doug among fellow Angels receiving thanks. The prison administration appreciated their organizing bike shows and concerts. Behind these seemingly innocent activities lurked more practical arrangements. The Angels smuggled contraband during these events. Additionally, they paid business fees to other prison gangs. Despite Hells Angels' street dominance, prison yards belonged to 4 major gangs. Doug navigated this complex ecosystem masterfully. He formed alliances with the Mexican mafia. Likewise, he established working relationships with the Aryan Brotherhood. Yet his individual reputation transcended even these powerful connections.
And, we became friends with other prison gangs. Although the Hells Angels was not a prison gang, they were watched by the prison authorities. They became friends with the AB, the Mexican mafia, and pretty much had sway on the yard because of guys like Doug.
Former inmates spoke of Doug in hushed, reverential tones decades later. One described him as the toughest white boy on the yard. This title made him a natural target. Nevertheless, challengers typically regretted their decisions quickly. In one legendary incident, several black guerrilla family members attacked him simultaneously. During the assault, they gouged a baseball-sized chunk from his calf muscle. Doug survived without seeking revenge. Instead, he let the incident amplify his growing mythology. Soon, his reputation extended beyond verified incidents. During a temporary release, Doug attended a motorcycle run in Sturgis, South Dakota. Fresh from prison and carrying what witnesses called his prison swagger, he commanded extraordinary respect. People literally moved aside as he walked down the main street. The street parted like the Red Sea, one observer noted with religious awe.
But anyways, Doug showed up there, and he had just returned from prison. It was early 80s. And, Doug walked down the middle of the street in Sturgis looking for outlaws. The street parted like the Red Sea, if you will.
Doug's influence grew even as his psychology remained mysterious to others. His capacity for shocking violence contrasted with strategic intelligence. While many feared him, others sought his protection and guidance. Throughout the prison system, his name became shorthand for unmatched ferocity. San Quentin's hardened population included murderers, rapists, and career criminals. Somehow, among these predators, Doug established himself as the apex threat. His method combined calculated intimidation with unpredictable explosions of force. Between these extremes, he created a persona that would outlive his physical existence. By 1985, Doug had secured parole and planted himself strategically in Oakland. His new residence sat directly across from Sonny Barger's home. Additionally, he transferred from Daly City to the Oakland chapter. This move positioned him at the club's power center. Freedom proved fleeting for a man with Doug's habits. The FBI launched Operation Rough Rider that May. Their nationwide sweep targeted Hells Angels drug operations. 125 arrests disrupted the club's activities across America. When authorities raided Doug's house, they discovered a firearm in his truck. Given his felony record, this discovery guaranteed his return to prison. The federal judge sentenced him to 6 years. Doug headed to Lewisburg United States Penitentiary in Pennsylvania. Behind these new walls, old habits resurfaced with deadly consequences. According to George Christie, Doug developed a heroin habit common among long-term inmates.
You know, what happened after that created a big club controversy. Doug, I guess I'll describe it, Doug had a habit, if you will, and some of the guys did. They weren't supposed to. They weren't supposed to use heroin or needles, but, guys in prison were doing pretty much what they wanted, and especially a guy like Doug. How are you going to tell Doug what to do? He was going to do what he wanted.
Who would dare confront Doug about rule violations? On June 26, 1986, the legend ended unceremoniously in a prison cell. Doug overdosed alone, without witnesses or assistance. There were no conspiracies, no assassination plots. Instead, the man who terrorized California's toughest criminals died from self-administered poison.
But Doug OD'd in his prison cell by himself. There was nothing shady about it. We never felt that it was a setup or a hot shot or anything like that. So this opened the door to a really huge controversy.
News of his death sparked heated debate within the Hells Angels organization. The by-the-book faction opposed giving him a proper funeral. They cited his violation of club rules against heroin. Nevertheless, others argued his contributions outweighed his transgressions.
There was a faction in the club that were strict, by the book guys, and they didn't want Doug to have that Hells Angel funeral.
Humor circulated alongside grief during these discussions. Some joked that members approved his funeral because they feared Doug wasn't really dead. Perhaps they worried he might return seeking vengeance against those who denied him proper respects.
And there was a big contingency that, wanted Doug to have it and didn't care, what happened or how he died. And ultimately, in the end, Doug got his funeral, perhaps because if Doug really wasn't dead, maybe there were people that were scared to go against him. I don't know. It was kind of a joke around the club.
On August 7th, 1986, Doug was laid to rest at Oakland's Evergreen Cemetery. Rather than joining the general population, he received space in an area reserved for fallen angels. At merely 40 years old, his legend had already outgrown his life. Rumors persisted long after his burial. Some believed federal authorities had faked his death. These conspiracy theories claimed he was locked in a cell in Colorado with the door welded shut. Such fantastic stories revealed Doug's psychological impact more than any reality. Christie summarized Doug's legacy perfectly.
So Doug was a dream to many, and I'm also sure he was a nightmare to a lot of other people.
The small-town swimming champion had completed his transformation into an outlaw icon. His name would echo through criminal folklore for decades to come.